Hello, students of class 7. Welcome back to our English class. Today, before we go on to our class, I'm going to ask you all an important question. So, the question is, what do you think is important in a sentence? I hear quite a few of you saying subject and some saying verb and object, right? Yes. Let me show you an example. Soumya is playing piano. Here we have a subject, a verb, and an object, right? It makes a complete sentence. When we come down to the second example, Soumya is playing. Here also we have a complete sentence, but we just have a subject and a verb, right? So, more than an object being there, it is very important for a subject and a verb to be in a sentence. And it is more important for a subject and a verb to agree. So I think many of you would have guessed the topic of today's class. Yes, you are right. It is subject-verb agreement. So in our class today, you will be knowing about subject-verb agreement, and we will have a quick recall of what is a verb along with its type and few examples. Then we will be learning about the 7 rules of subject-verb agreement. And then you will be shown a few examples related to the 7 rules. So now let's quickly get into the video. What is a verb? Yes, a verb is a word that expresses time while showing an action or a condition of being. That is, it is of two types. One is the action verb and the second one is the state of being verbs. So when it comes to action verbs, it is like clap, laugh, dance, play, read, and so on. And being verbs are is, are, am, was, were, and so on, right? So this is verb, and we know what is a subject, right? It is the main thing in a sentence. So let's now know about a subject-verb agreement. Subject-verb agreement is nothing but a subject and a verb agreeing to each other in number and in person in a sentence. So in a sentence, a subject and a verb should agree to each other. That is a subject-verb agreement. So you might be wondering how they must agree, right? So yes, we have 7 rules. And now let's get started with the rules. Rule number 1. A plural subject takes a verb in the plural form. So when the subject is in the plural form, it takes the verb in the plural form. Likewise, when the subject is in singular, it takes the verb in the singular too. So whatever form the subject is, so will be the verb too. And one other important thing is, when the subject is singular, the verb will have an S in the end. And when the subject is in plural, the verb wouldn't have an S in the end. That is, we are talking about the action verbs. So when the subject is singular, like we see, the teacher reads many books. So here the action verb adds an S when the subject is singular. While the subject is plural, the subject has an S to it. But the verb doesn't have an S, right? Yes. So we must remember, when it is an action verb and the singular subject will not have an S, but the verb will have an S. But when it becomes the plural, the subject will have an S and the verb won't have an S. So let's move on. Here, when it's the state of being verb, when it's in plural, two dogs are sitting on the grass. So you see here, we have are, that is the plural form. But when it is a single dog, we say one dog is sitting on the grass. It is a singular form. So what is the first rule? When the subject is singular, the verb is also singular. When the subject is plural, the verb is also in the plural form. So let's move on to the second rule. When two or more singular objects are connected by as well as, it takes a verb in the singular form. So when there are two or even more singular subjects, the verb is also in the singular form. But when does it happen? It must be connected with the word as well as. So we can have two or more subjects too, but their subject must be in the singular form and must be connected with as well as. If that's the case, then the verb will also be in the singular form. So let's see an example. Mrs. Wadia as well as her grandchild is going to watch Harry Potter. So here we see Mrs. Wadia and her grandchild, that is two singular subject and as well as. So we have a singular verb, that is. Second example, Rani as well as her friend is very pleasing. So we have Rani and her friend, both is a singular subject and they are connected by as well as. So we have a singular verb, that is. So what did we see here? Two singular subject connected by as well as will have a singular verb. So let's move on now to the third rule. If there are two nouns and both refer to the same thing or person, the verb is in the singular form. So here also we can have two subjects, but they must refer to the same thing or the person. If that's the case, then we'll have the verb in the singular form. So let's have an example. My sidekick and best friend has arrived. So here the person, best friend and the sidekick is the same person. So we have the singular verb has arrived. Next example, macaroni and cheese is yummy. So macaroni and cheese is the same thing and he says is yummy, that is a singular verb is used. Gabo's colleague and compatriot plays a mean alto sax. That is, Gabo's friend and the compatriot is the same person and that person is playing the alto sax. So here plays. Do you remember, students? When it's in the subject is in the singular form, the verb adds an S to it. That's why here the verb play has an S to it. So the verb is in the singular form when the subject refers to the same person or the thing. So moving on to the fourth rule. Some words are always plural in form but singular in meaning. Those words require singular verbs. So let's see the example, like mathematics, physics, economics, that is the subjects, or disease like meals, mumps, or like news, politics and all. They are all singular. When we say mathematics, it's just one subject, but it has an S. It looks like a plural form, but it is a singular form too. So these things will have a singular verb. For example, mathematics is my favorite subject. So here mathematics looks like it is in the plural but is a singular subject. So it has a singular verb. In the same way, we have politics has made people do strange things. Here politics is also a singular subject which looks like a plural, so it has a singular verb. So let's move on to the rule number 5. Two singular subjects joined by either or neither nor take a singular verb. So if two singular subjects are joined by either or neither nor will have a singular verb. Example, either mommy or daddy is coming with me at the outbound. So here mommy or daddy, we have either or, and mommy and daddy are singular subjects, so we have a singular verb that is. Either Jeremy or Sarah is guilty. So Jeremy and Sarah are singular subjects and we have either or here. So yes, the verb is in the singular form, that is. So let's move on to the rule number 6. The words each, one, everyone, either, neither, everyone, everybody, anybody, anyone, nobody, somebody, someone, and no one are singular. So all these words starting from each to no one are singular. When you have these words in your sentence, you will require a singular verb. When you have these words in the sentence, you will have a singular verb. So let's see an example. Oh, we have quite a few examples here. Each of the athletes runs effortlessly. So when we use each, we have runs, that is a singular verb. Neither of the women is ready. Either of the events is worth watching. Everyone in my family has enjoyed the games. Someone in the audience was waving a flag. So like we already saw, yes, we have singular verb when we have these words. So most often when it's a singular verb, we have an S in the end. Yeah. So let's move on to our last rule, that is rule number 7. A collective noun takes a singular verb if the idea expressed by the subject is thought as a unit. It takes a plural verb when the idea refers to separate individuals. So when it is a collective noun, that is when we say the class is writing an exam, you refer to them, the students, as a class. So it is a collective noun, right? So when we say as a collective noun, we will have a singular verb. But when we say in that class few children have failed, we are referring to few children. So they are individuals, right? When we refer to individuals in a collective noun, then we will take a plural verb. So let's see an example. When it is referred as a collective noun, singular verb. So the example is, the family is united on this question. The enemy is suing for peace. So here there's no number given in the family or for the enemies. So it is a collective. They are a collective group. So we have a singular verb, that is. But when we refer to them as individuals, we use plural verb. My family are always fighting among themselves. So it's not everybody in the family, it's just few people fighting, right? So when it is considered as individuals, it is a plural verb. So here you see, right? My family are. It's a plural verb. Second, the enemy was showing up in groups of 3 or 4 to turn in their weapons. So here we see 3 or 4. So it focuses on few individuals, right? So we are having a plural verb was. So here I hope you understand how it works. When it is a collective noun, as a group, we use a singular verb, and when it is mentioned as an individual, you have a plural verb. Yes. So that's all for the subject verb agreement. If you follow these 7 rules, you will be able to get the perfect sentence, and the subject and the verb in your sentence will agree. So today in our class we have learnt about subject verb agreement. We have recalled what is a verb and its type with examples. We have learned the 7 rules, and we also have seen few examples related to the 7 rules. So I hope all of you would have understood subject verb agreement rules clearly. So after watching the video, kindly go to our Google Classroom and fill in the activity form put up in the Google Classroom. So thank you, students. Until we meet in our next class. Take care.